for fixing that. I don't know why I thought... I'm a little bit out of breath. I'm not going to lie, I had to run back because I didn't want to miss the start of this game. Because this is going to be a hype one, folks. It's delivered so far with 3 games, and I'm a little bit out of breath because, you know, honestly, Great and Cheese would get me out of breath. But you know what? We're going to take a moment. We're going to compose ourselves because in an Abbasid matchup on this specific map, we could end up getting our longest game. Like, I feel like if any map was going to deliver a hell long game, it wasn't going to be Dry Arabia. It was this one. And we knew it was in the backwards. We knew it was possibly going to come out. And they're already mirroring each other's moves straight out onto the docks building. Question is whether someone's going to rush an outpost here. Because remember, like, that's the potency play here, right? Just slam down an outpost, 35 damage per arrow. Nobody can stay here.
Yeah, exactly. You see the early docks coming in from both players. In fact, Viper is pulling a villager even, so he even tries to stop this dock from being complete, and he might actually be able to. Hold on, this dock might just be a failure.
What?
Oh.
He's got, that isn't a shiv, that's a butcher's knife right there.
Oh no.
Run, little Timmy! No! It's so close!
This map is just haunting Beasty. I was just about to say that he played against Marine Lord yesterday. In this map, with Marine Lord having the Abbasids, he played the Ruse. He's not picking Abbasids, potentially partially even influenced by that. And now, disaster start for him, that dog being heavily delayed.
Also, Beasty went for a second scout as well. Right, so it hurts even more. Now you're 2 eco units behind. Because you remember, you build those scouts out of your TC, right? So you sacrifice the villager. And your opponent is now already 2 fishing boats ahead. Viper, we're only 2 minutes in this game, and he already has a pretty dominant lead.
Yeah, that's the thing. Obviously, you're behind in terms of villager count, but you're also behind in fishing ship count, so that delay is just so painful. I mean, look at that. 14 eco versus 9. Viper already has a substantial lead in this one, and in a mirror matchup, every single detail matters. In a mirror matchup, being down so much early game is a miracle, or, well, not a miracle, rather a nightmare. It's a miracle for Viper that he's in such a good position, but would you look at that? Beastie is not gonna have food issues for the next 5 hours with that many sheep.
Well, the question is whether you can afford to just sacrifice and now go full land. Because the issue you have to keep in mind is that when you fall behind like this early on as some civs, you go, okay, no problem. Like, I'm going to be later on the tech up, but I can invest a lot of people in doing it. That's not how it works with the Abbasids. Remember that the timing is locked, right? You research it in the House of Wisdom. So if you're behind at this point, any gap that is there, you can't shrink it by investing more villagers to rush up to a power timing. You're locked away from it for almost 2 minutes.
Yeah, that's precisely the case. So it's going to be very difficult for Beastie to even stop Viper from destroying his fishing eco at this pace, because as you pointed out, Viper will likely get to feudal age faster. That means that he's gonna have the first Dow out faster. Sinking the fishing eco would mean that Viper is gonna have an even better economy than his opponent, and things would just start snowballing out of control. This is a very big problem that Beastie is in right now, and let's not underestimate the fact that this is match point for Viper. He gets into the grand finals if Beastie loses here.
Yeah, he does. I mean, yeah, it would be quite the upset for BC with how day number 3 of round 2 went. Like, the way he lost to Marine Lord was 3-1 in the end, right? It looked quite dominant for Marine Lord. Viper maybe offering up a different style of challenge, and right now he is a very big challenge from BC. It feels like with each game that we've proceeded through with in this series, things have just been getting harder and harder. After what looked like an impressive start to the series for BC, it's all of a sudden become an impressive series for Viper.
Yeah, and interestingly, that's exactly the reverse of what we had with these 2 players in the winner's bracket match that they played. I think it was winner's bracket quarterfinals. In that one, Viper opened with a win on Arabia, and then Beastie ended up winning a dominant series 3-1. And now we're seeing a somewhat reverse way of playing this one. I think game number 1 was won by Beastie, and then we had the Boulder Bay game, the crazy Boulder Bay game by Viper, and then, of course, previous one, and now this.
Yeah, I mean, so what we're getting to here is, folks, if you want to make a bet with one of your friends on who's going to win the grand final, make it after the first game. Whoever gets the first game, say the other person's going to win, and your friend will snatch the money out of your hand. Right? So there you go. I've just made you $20. Easy peasy, folks. I don't know who's offering you those. Maybe you got a friend who's feeling a little bit gambly. But look at these walls coming out. It's about to turn into a death match in the center part of the river here, as there is no escape on either side.
I love it. Viper loves these high potential plays, and many call him out to a certain extent for doing this as for memes. And in Age of Empires 2, he did something like this quite often as well. Not just generally this walling off this section part, but just the fact that he's going for high potential plays. He's saying, okay, I could technically just attack him on the river and then let him flee to the north, right? But no, he's saying, okay, if I do this, I will do this with a very high upside, that being me completely trapping those. And he's very much known for these types of plays. He's taking some sometimes high reward or high risk situations that turn out with high reward. And more importantly, he really is sometimes committing to seemingly weird plays that end up with very high upsides.
Yeah, and we're going to see if it pays off, because if we actually compare the two tech-up timings, we'll see how far apart they are, because remember, it's locked in, right? You can't change it at all. Viper should have a considerable lead, and there it is, the tick-through. Beasty is only halfway, almost a minute left, if not a minute on his timer, means that Viper is going to get the initial dows out, and then Beasty's stuck. There's nowhere to run, there's nowhere to hide. He's invested in a lot of fishing boats, and there's only room to garrison free, nowhere to run because of those walls that we talked about already.
Yeah, and that's a growing problem. Look at what Viper is doing. He's mining stone. So he's realizing, okay, I'm going to have a lead. And what can I do with that lead? I could just play aggressive and I could just finish off my opponent right now. Or I could play it safe, I could play it methodical, and I can just extend my currently existing lead. Beast is thinking about the second town center himself, but obviously Viper playing from a power position, an advantageous position here. If they are doing the same thing here, 2 town centers, Viper's going to have a massive lead for a long time.
And it's cool because Viper's playing the implied odds logic, my words today. Basically what this is if you can't get vision on what your opponent is doing, you can anticipate what they're going to do, right? In this situation, Beasty has lost the war on the water. His only fallback, logically, as the Bastards, is the TC boom. So Viper is anticipating that Beasty is going to make that investment instead of just scouting it out himself, and is going to eco-scale himself. Now, admittedly, he could actually get the info, so it's not just like you playing poker and you can't see your opponent's hand. He could be scouting this out, but weirdly enough, Viper has been overly defensive with his scout usage. In fact, I think he still has 1 or 2 in the field. He just hasn't been parking them outside of Beasty's base, despite the fact he controls all 3 of the forts.
Now, it looks like we got some DAOs queued up for Beasty, so he's not ready to give up on this one. Viper, as you pointed out, is going to scout out the stone mining operation here, but Beasty's not ready to give up on this, and it's going to be 1 DAO versus 1 DAO, which is going to be a dead even trade with both of those vessels being healed by the docks as well. And look who's winning water right now. Guess what? It's no one, but Viper is fleeing.
Bye! Needs the wall, needs the wall! Oh, he's going to tap it back up. It might cost him the villager, though, and it won't delay him long. That's the problem. But now you can't even chase them because you've got a DAO attacking your fishing boats. You have to address that, and there's the secondary dock. Like, Viper, he has full control right now. He can
he's
leave.
in a great spot.
Beasty cannot.
He's in a great spot, and it's worth sacrificing that 1 villager for this one because his fishing eco is going to be safe, and the one for Beasty isn't going to be. Beasty is trying to blast his way through those walls, though. Second DAO out as well for him. But eco-wise, Viper is pulling ahead. Second TC on the way for him. And for Beasty, I don't think he has dropped it just yet.
It's not there. No, because he went for the second DAO. So he actually sacrificed the wood required to go for that TC. He's delayed his timing by doing this.
And look at the eco balance.
He's building another one.
Yeah, it has to be 3. I mean, he's at 600 stone right now. It's either a massive miss macro, or it's going to be 2 additional town centers being added, but he's not going to have the wood for it, because he's consuming that wood by making new DAOs.
See, if this was me, Lida, game 3 and game 4 would have meshed together in my brain, and it would have been a keep.
KP.
That I couldn't build.
Fresh
what
food.
we got?
He just started researching fresh foodstuffs.
What? What? No!
Oh man, that's a disaster. That's a full disaster for Beasty.
I mean, now normally, like it's 9 minutes in, right? You wouldn't say this is the end of the world. But we already highlight this, the mirror matchup. You're behind. Small differences make the mile. That's a big difference. Like, if you think about how long he's been missing it, it's got to be, like, what, 300? Well, not at least 200 food, I'd say, that he's missed out on. If we map this out, right? Because you get fresh food stuffs around, let's say, 6 minutes usually at the latest. You know, you require the 20 seconds to produce a villager. Each villager you can save 25 food on. You already would have been saving money by now. Instead, you've kicked that down the road. Because remember that it costs 200 resources initially to get fresh foodstuffs.
And look at the food income per minute right now for Beasty. It's not like he can afford to pay that high price for the villagers. He's at 45 food per minute. And what's concerning for him right now is that Viper at this point is piling up resources for Castle Age. He's just like 3 steps ahead of Beasty right now.
Beasty with the, if I'm not going to win here, is going to be Scorched Earth strategy. I'm just going to take fish away from these points, as I know I'm dead anyway. But he continues to invest in the DAOs, and this is the perplexing part. It's actually cost him so much by doing this. He's up to 4 now, but with the healing coming out from Docs on both sides, it's not like you're going to get an emphatic victory straight away. And even if you do, what are you going to do with it? Like, you have at least now got 3 TCs, but so is Viper. And his timing matches yours, and he didn't have a skewed economy to get there.
Oh man, I mean, it's gonna be 3 town centers for Viper with the fishing eco and 3 town centers for Beasty without. And just look at that food count for Viper. I mean, he's capitalizing on that fishing eco already. Whereas for Beasty, he's yet to even get the benefit, any kind of benefit from those additional town centers.
Yeah, I think Beasty's realized that, like, it's time to get military. He needs to actually get aggressive, because if they go into a status quo, Viper is once again going to beat you to the punchline of castle age timing by probably at least a minute. At that stage, you are very exposed, because that, although there is a nerf to the build speed of Siege in the field, your opponent can crawl out, he can quickly build up a few rams, he can overwhelm you in the blink of an eye, and you will have a lot of exposed eco. So I think that the Beasty's merit, if he wants to win this game, he actually has to prolong feudal now. The awkward concern, the question mark for me though, is how do you now address the DAOs at the crossings?
Yeah, that's a concern. You see, he's keeping one of the crossings open with his own DAO, so he's been camping that crossing over here. That's the only one that Viper hasn't walled off, so that's his path through the river to try and hit Viper's eco, and Viper knows that he's going to commit his own DAOs. There is no attack upgrade on either of those DAOs right now, but Viper knows that he just needs to make sure he can wall this crossing, and Beasty's chances of doing any damage is going to be minimal once that happens.
Yeah, it's problematic. I think Viper just reached the critical mass. There's nowhere for Beasty to run and hide anymore. So DAO fleet's going to fall, and then he won't control the crossings anymore. And another weird kind of thing, actually, like maybe a brighter day that can emerge for Beasty is, although he screwed up on the fresh food stuff, or maybe not screwed up, but he didn't go for it early. Notice that Viper still hasn't gone for Wheelbarrow at 12 minutes in the game. So they both have inefficiencies in their eco.
Yeah, at least the wheelbarrow you can justify by saying that you do have the fishing eco and you want to prioritize keeping it alive, but yeah, that could have been different as well. This being said, Viper's eco is substantially better than Beasty's one right now. First couple of Camel Archers coming through, but the DAOs will just prevent them from crossing.
No. Yeah, they have to leave. Look how much damage you take from 2 bursts. That's hefty damage onto a pricey unit. Remember, Camel Archers are not cheap. They cost the same price as a heavy knight.
Oh no.
That's a heavy loss.
Everything is falling apart for Beasty.
I don't think he knew about that dock. I don't think Beasty knew about that dock. There's no way you try and drop a dock there if you know your opponent has a dock there already.
Yeah.
But yeah, he's aging up. Like, this is maybe the one edge he can have. Is this just going to be a Camel Archer, Zerg? I think he's just trying to body into the eco lines and punish Viper on land. Because I don't think you can build anything static or slow trying to cross these straits now.
Yeah, the concern that Beasty's having is how is he going to get through those walls and how is he going to get through those ships? Because right now, Viper's got everything walled. We do have a lot of DAOs out here, and you could even think about some bug glass being added to try and control those choke points. Viper also has 700 stones, so his castle is not impossible for him.
Sorry, I have to mock the bug glass every time I hear it. So one thing that I think is going through BC's mind right now is if he tries to like go in for feudal all rush, like he's going to get blocked by the ships. We already saw that, right? The cool thing he does have access to by rushing the castle here is he will be able to build Springalds. And remember that Springalds do get bonus damage against the ships, and they have plenty more range than any ships that the Abbasses can build. So that is one way he can reopen the pass. So it's a very thin timing, though. Like, if you look at it, they're both teching up, right? They're kind of neck and neck. And if you're still in this neck and neck situation, if you can't start to attack Viper in the eco, you're just going to be inherently behind him.
Yeah, that's a great point. I mean, Springles is definitely a way to go here for Beasty. He could snipe down not only the combat ships, but also the fishing eco of Viper. And truth being told, Viper is only 6 eco ahead. So while the advantage seems big, it's not actually that big anymore. And we could be in for a very long game here. I think this is like the 100th time that we are saying this today. But at the pace we are going, both players reaching Costage at the same time. Beasty is down 7 eco, but he started adding army. This could be a long game here, simply because Beasty could hold this off for a long time and then snipe down the fishing eco with Springolds, and boom, it's an even game.
Hey man, this series always comes with a warning. Cancel your evening because you've only got time to watch this. I agree, this one could go over the long haul, especially if they start to mirror each other up. You already see the move coming out from Viper into the archer ranges, stables as well. Keep being built at the crossing. And this is going to be frustrating because remember, the Abbasses, they can build Siege in the field, but there's one important piece of Siege in the current meta they cannot build without a Siege Workshop.
Trebuchets. Exactly. Well, Culverins as well, but that's an Imperial Age story, right?
Yes. By then, you should have Siege Workshop. It's a hefty investment, right? 300 wood at this stage in the game. That's a stinger on top of the cost of the trebuchet afterwards. So it definitely slows down the timing. I think in conjunction with the nerf on the mangonels, the double build speed in the field, you can see how hard the Abbas's timing castle has been crippled to where it once was.
Beasty has a dock somewhere because you can see on the right side, he has a demolition ship queued up, so hang on and talk about
No,
high upside pace.
He never finished off the dock to the south.
There has to be a dock somewhere. Yeah, it has to be on the south.
It's the first one he built. It's the first one he built. It's on fire, but the boom ship's going to come out. It's just not nuclear demo ships anymore. It doesn't really get the value it used to. I mean, can you even call that an explosion?
I got a little too hyped about the demolition ships, you know. I was ready. My body was ready to receive a huge explosion sinking Viper's fleet, and it's like, nope.
Okay, we need a tuning pack to bring back old demo ships with the added benefit of stealing the nuclear launch detected noise from the Command & Conquer series, because I do kind of miss that. They're just so bad now. They do absolutely nothing.
Oh, yeah. It's a sad, sad time. Now, Viper is coming through with Lancers, and right now, if you look at Beasty's army, it's mostly just archers. That's going to struggle quite a lot, stopping all those Lancers, and Viper could once again start coming in with the raids, and that's where things started going wrong for Beasty in the previous game as well.
Yeah, it's kind of problematic because he was going to get raided on multiple sides, and you've seen the switch up. Game one, most of it. Like, it was over an hour long for them to learn that cavalry's probably better for raiding, but they've gotten a lot quicker at it now, right? Camel archers on one side, Lancers on the other. Lancers are going to have their damage heavily mitigated by the camel on ease, but it's just right now, everything BC's doing is defensive, and the concern is you're reaching a stage, especially with free TCs, where your initial resources aren't good enough anymore. You're going to have to flesh out, and as you do, Viper's going to actually be able to exploit that with these raids with cavalry.
Yeah, that's the thing. Right now, still, Viper is the more active player of the two. Because, as you said, everything that Beasty is doing right now is defensive. Oh, nope. Like, every time you see the
Not even one Lancer. It's like, I keep hoping. Man, I've been doing some of the Bronze Barbarian series, and, you know, that really gets my hope up on Wallow's working. You never get to see him in these high-level games.
Yeah, you then realize it's not a thing. It's not a thing at all.
I'm wondering if like they've been trying to tweak the way that relics function a little to make them more beneficial to use aggressively. Like, well, we probably shouldn't get into like design too much, but like if there was an obvious change that you'd like to see, what do you think it would be? Like more movement speed on the relic carriers, or
I think
let's ignore the fact that oh my. How has this gone unnoticed? I mean, you can wallow, but it's just not even worth it anymore. The amount of villagers that just died here, good lord.
Oh, look at that! Claps
he done
in
it.
the chat.
We flamed terrible wallows, never happening, and he done it. He got 2 Lancers, and all it cost him was, how many villagers was that, 8? I think it was like 8.
Yeah, something like that. I mean, Beasty was probably like, okay, you killed 8 villagers anyways, I might as well try to get the Vololo. Imagine if Viper just left in time, and it's like, okay, even the Vololo fails, and it's like,
no!
Oh,
Dude, at
no.
that point, you just throw your keyboard out the window. I'm done with this series. And now he's going to get punished here as well. I mean, this is frustrating actually for Beasty, because all the gold veins remaining are exposed. There's no way that he can gather gold safely anymore.
Yeah, and it's a growing concern. I mean, Viper's got the horsemen, Viper's got the archers, and he's just denying so many resources. He managed to build up a pretty decent eco lead, but it's all about that attrition factor, really, because you are just depleting the opponent's eco so much.
Actually, it's all about composite bows, because Imperial's now accessible for Viper. Not only has he aggressed and maintained military count equally, he's actually accrued enough resources to go up, and look at the comparative. Beasty has barely any food to his name, all right? Like, the granary is empty side. Like, he has nothing there. And it means that he's easily going to be 2 to 3 minutes behind on the tech up. So Beasty's only real option now to maybe, like, snatch this away is to get aggressive before the Imperial ticks in.
Yeah, but what are you going to do to be aggressive? I mean, you got 14 crossbows, 9 camel archers, and only 1 springboard, and Viper walled off the crossings, and let's just appreciate for a fact how many places Viper has to pay attention to. Look at all those attack notifications going off all across the screen, 4 or 5 at the same time. And Viper still was able to keep his fishing eco alive, and that's part of the reason why he's able to get to Imperial so fast. 1800 food per minute as compared to 600. That's the fishing eco difference that you have.
It's also the lack of room for farms. Because BC has condensed himself, because he's being actively raided by cavalry, he can't actually extend out and build loads of farms instantly.
is too vulnerable, it's too exposed, and that's why you see these weak food numbers showing up for Beasty. He's been reliant on the game. In fact, I think he shifted out to the deer to the west of his base just recently to keep himself afloat, but it means he's not thriving. If we look in Viper's base by comparative, you can already see it on the minimap. Look how many pocket ecos he has running. He's exploiting every single resource deposit possible at the same time.
Yeah, that's exactly it. And the thing is that he can do this because he knows he's safe. He's got the crossings walled off. He knows that there is no way the opponent can raid him, so he can just safely walk out there. There is no risk involved. Whereas for Beasty, every single pocket eco he makes involves a risk of getting raided like we have seen on the berries.
And here it comes. Imperial Age ticks in, and Viper doesn't skip a beat. He instantly raids in again, ensuring that Beasty has to react to the back of his base when he needs to be pushing across those forts. And instead, he's not even trying to push across him. He's just trying to negotiate territory in the peace treaty right now. And I don't think Viper's going to have any of it. Not with this new power spike arising with Imperial.
Okay, KP, different story over here. This is a big question, a question that we have to answer. What's your over and under on Viper making a Xebec on the river? I have to know that.
I mean, even pro players can misclick, right? So the only time I've seen a Xebec be effective is when a player seems to be, like, selectively blind to their existence. Shout out to Sleeper for that one, by the way. I can't let that one slide. It's so hard to justify. Like, what are you building it for? You already hold all the passes. Maybe the keep? Would you not rather have a Trebuchet than a Xebec? Or a Bombard, even?
Yeah, I mean, everything is better than a Xebec here, but, you know, one has to dream.
What's the cost of Xebecs?
It's like 480, 480 or something. It's horribly expensive for an otherwise quite underwhelming ship.
Would it not be better to just take all that resource? Okay, so there you go. It's almost 800 resource. Now, querying this, would it not be better to spend 25 food per villager, get the same quantity, like the same value in villagers, and then use them? I feel like you get better value out of that.
Okay.
And I'm talking aggressively.
Different question then, as we do have a bit of a battle unfolding here. Do you think Xebecs or Buglaws are the more cost-efficient unit? I just need to hear a POV on the absolutely horrendous navy of the Abbasids at this stage.
Well, the good news is they don't have the worst boat. That goes to the Galleus. I don't think I've ever seen one player playing French seriously build that without it being a meme. So there's always that. But you know what? We don't have to worry about Navy, about answering these complicated questions about why the Abbasids are so bad. Actually, I can tell you, it's because they're called the Abbasids when it comes to water. We can focus on the land instead. Bombard's building up, now up to 3, and Beastyqt, once this keep goes down, how the hell do you deal with a siege? You haven't got a single springle to your name. You have no rush type unit. You don't have horsemen, even scouts to try and burn these units down. It just means you're going to be bowling balled down by the bombards from long range.
Yeah, Beasty is just now reaching Imperial, so he can get some coverings out, but it's the momentum. It's the momentum that Viper is having right now. He's got some Imperial Age technologies in here already, as you see. Composite bows being researched right now. Bombards? Nope.
Just get behind the wall. Oh no, what's that? You don't have range? Kill them, boys! It's just so easy as well. It's just, this is what makes it ridiculous. If you allow your opponent to build up a composite of bombards like this, you just get picked apart. You can't not play Springles to counter this. And there's a reason he hasn't, by the way. If you look at the top, Viper has an incredibly healthy composition. Cavalry, front line, ranged, siege. Beasty just has a bunch of foot infantry panicking and running towards their targets. And maybe they find their value here on the bombards, but what happens afterwards? Because while you're trying to pick them apart, you're being picked apart by the archers and spearmen behind you. And even then, the villagers are keeping them alive, so the bombards are going to live. Beasty's army's not.
I mean, that's ridiculous. It's such a great fight here for Viper. He's also got towers, and I think he's actually grabbing... Is he grabbing a trade technology, or am I completely blind on that? There's a tech on the left side. What even is that tech? I don't know.
Oh, that is...
Oh, it's the improved processing, okay.
Forget, one of the most amazing researches that so many Abbasid players get. It's done. Beastyqt. He realizes it's over. Viper will take the series 3-1. The only good news at the end of the day for Beasty is it's an online tournament, so he doesn't have to worry about flying home.
And also, let's not forget the fact that sure thing Beasty gets knocked out of the stage too, but he has gathered enough points to be guaranteed the top 8 spot in the playoffs. So not a complete disaster for him, obviously. In fact, he's in a pretty good spot with the tournament, but Viper takes a big win here. and he defeats the player that knocked him down to the loser's bracket, only to play Marine Lord in the grand finals in just a couple of seconds. Small highlight to point out is that Viper ends this game with 69 military in the final second. Nice.
Seems appropriate because BC got boned in that one. But you know what? As you said, despite the fact he gets boned, he did make it to the playoffs. Like, he has confirmed a spot there regardless of how the rest of this plays out. In fact, you want to know an interesting little detail here? There's only 3 players that currently have confirmed spots in that top 8, and they're the 3 players that are playing in the final day. It's kind of incredible that, right? Like, after 2 rounds, we're still at that stage.
Yeah, and like, make no mistake, the competition is very difficult over here. So Beasty, he gets taken down 3-1 over here, but I mean, he ends the second stage with a top 3 finish, and that is not something to be ashamed of at all, especially losing to Viper in an otherwise crazy and depleting set. And Beasty plays really well in this one. It's just the fact that small things went better for Viper, like the ability to win that Border Bay game, then the long and grindy games, especially game number 3. And then this one, it was just that great start for Viper that he has had. And then from that point on, it was just a big, big snowball that started rolling down hills.
Yeah, I mean, you know, like obviously, it's the dominance of Viper, not the the downside of Beastie to compare to here, right? Like, realistically, at the end of the day, Beastie, you know, he finishes 3rd in the second round. He's been getting those top 3 finishes regularly. Is still probably 61 places better than I'd do if I was here, and most of us would do. I mean, Beastie, despite the changes with the meta, with the shift as well, he's still a dominant player. Like, this speaks volumes to how damn good he is, right? I feel like to kind of like just glaze over it quickly, because I know there's a lot of controversy in the last week. There was a lot of hate kind of projected towards him. I don't think that was appropriate.
No.
And I feel like he's proven, even with the shift, like, he's still a dominant player. He's still able to compete at the tippity top. It's not like a change happened, the Mangonels are gone, and then Beastie is all of a sudden going out in round 1, right? Like,
No.
he is still a top 3 contender, easily, by far.
And not even like top 10. It's like top 3 easily, as you see on the scoreboard right now on the screen. He's currently sitting at number 2 position. Now, Viper, I think even if he loses the grand finals, he would leapfrog Beastie. But worst case scenario for Beastie, he's still going to be in the top 3 going into the 3rd stage. So great finish for him in here. Very consistent. He's gotten 60 points in the first round. He's gotten 60 in this one as well. But Viper moves on. But really great show from both. The mathematical cutoff, by the way, for the playoffs is 106 points. So if you reach that, that guarantees you a spot. Now, realistically, you're likely going to have players getting in with lower scores. But if you've crossed that 106 mark, then you can just sit back and chill, because whatever you do, you still get into the top 8 to the playoffs.
And, you know, like, someone we highlighted in the first round that I think is important to always drill into people's heads is, like, as this tournament goes on, it's about improvement, right? Like, or consistency. Those are the 2 things that matters. You can have a flashy performance one-off, but it might not solidify your position, as you just highlighted, right? You can see there, Marino got 100 points in the first round. Let's say you got 100 points. Let's say you blitzed the first round and then flopped out, first of all, straight away in the others. You wouldn't have enough points to qualify for the elite playoffs. So you do have to show that consistency. And I mean, looking at that leaderboard there, the things I want to highlight is obviously Marine Lord is a kind of clear dominant. Beastie's very consistent. Viper slightly improving. The big one for me I want to give some praise over to is Benny Boy. Like, the Muslim, like, after round 1, like, that turnaround, that even though of course he got eliminated yesterday, like, I'm looking forward to seeing what he can do, especially with English starting to emerge as a dominant civ. I just think this looks so promising. Like, we've even got a lot of upcomers still in there. Puppy Paw, sort of, is still showing up. Obviously, round 2 was a little bit disappointing for him. Wham as well. Like, I've been really impressed by how quickly there's been great competition emerging in different regions. It's not just EU wins everything, lol, right? We've got NA representation. We've got EU representation, of course. We've even got some Asian representation in there. Of course, Lenok needs some reinforcements, and I'm sure we'll see that out of the likes of people like Kyo in the coming months. But that's what I love, is this format is so long, and there's just so much to witness and experience. And a lot of these players are playing up against players that they would otherwise not have been noticed by before, right? Like, even if they're grinding the leaderboards, they might not get to scrim with the likes of, you know, M-Lord or Viper or whoever else, but now they do.
Yeah, and I love that you pointed out sort of as well, because this is one of the elements that we haven't yet mentioned. One good run can give you enough points to potentially put you in the top 8. So technically the door is open for pretty much everybody. As you see, sort of, even with just 2 points out of the second round, he is still in that top 12. So with a good run, especially for these top 12 players, any of them could get into the top 8. Marine Lord, Beasty, and TheViper are guaranteed with their spots. And you see that they are clearly at least one step ahead of the current competition right now, at least in terms of consistency, because rank number 4, rank number 5, the Muslim and Vortex both had a 15 points finish. The top 3 are the players that consistently performed really well in both stages so far.
Yeah, absolutely. And, you know, I'm looking forward to seeing what they can do in the common stage. I mean, I'm not going to focus on the common stage yet. We're not there. We've still got more to go. Because if you just tune in, like, that was a fantastic grand final. Love the work you did in KP and Lidakor. It was great to see Beasty and fight. That wasn't the grand final, all right? That's still to come. We're going to probably hop over to a short break, but it should be short. And when we return, we're going to have Marine Lord versus Viper in a best of 7. Lidakor, any itching suspicions of how this one's going to play out? Is this going to be M-Lord dominating, or is Viper just going to be like an anime character arc, just getting better and better with every single game he plays today?
I'll have to think about that one, because I get the feel that this could be a coin flip between these two. I think either of these have the chance to win this. Viper, of course, coming into that set with some level of attrition, but on the other hand, he has been playing for like 3-4 hours now, so he's definitely warmed up, and that attrition didn't show in the last game that he has played. So he's definitely warmed up for the grand finals, whereas for Marine Lord, he had to sit there, wait for his opponent. We're going to see how that goes for him, but indeed, we're going to take a short break.